Kicking it around my man. It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings. Football, Wildcats, football.
Welcome to the Married with Picks podcast, season 4, episode 6, week 6. So here we are, Steve, back from Disney. After a week off, we're ready to dive into week 6. So we have 2 teams on bye this week, the Packers and the Steelers. And we have another London game. So first game on the sheet is the Ravens at the Titans in London. So a bit of rivalry between these teams, even though they're not division rivals. There was a little drama a couple years ago with the Titans huddling on the Ravens logo that caused some controversy. These teams have played 3 times in the last 3 years, 2 times in the playoffs, once in the regular season. Titans won 2 of the 3 matchups. They did lose the last matchup in the playoffs 2 years ago. So DeAndre Hopkins finally got it going last week in Tennessee. They did lose that game. Some talk this week about going over to London. The Ravens left early in the week. They've been there since Tuesday. Titans did not leave until Friday. Ravens are favored by 4, even though it's technically a home game for the Titans. And I'm going to stick with the Titans as a dog here.
I'm actually going to go Baltimore. The number seems off to me. Like it seems too high. 4.5, almost like the number's telling you to take Baltimore. They had a bad showing last week. You know, they lost 17-10 in the last minute touchdown to Pittsburgh. So I think that's something that they've been thinking about. And the fact that they got over to London early Tuesday should allow them to adjust to the time zone difference better than Tennessee. We'll see out of the gate if that has an early impact in the game, that Baltimore looks more fresh than Tennessee. But so far during the 2023 campaign, I'm not in love with the way that either of these 2 teams have played. I kind of like Tennessee coming into the season and thought that they were going to look a little stronger than they are. But the 4 points is almost too much in my mind, but I'm going to take Baltimore.
All right. Different sides of that one. So next game is the 49ers at the Browns. Also should mention that we do.
Any action on that?
Huh?
It's going to be London, 9:30. You want any action on that? Baltimore, I'll give you 4 points. You give me 4 points. I'll give you 4 points.
Well, you said it was 4.5. I have it at 4.
All right. Well, 4.
4.5.
4.
4.5.
No.
All right. 2. All right, next game is the 49ers at the Browns. 49ers are favored by 9.5. Is that what you have?
I don't know. I have the different order, so I have to go searching.
Okay. And I should mention that there are some games with potential weather concerns. I didn't see anything dramatic when I looked it up earlier today. Some games that will have potential for some rain. This is one of them. Right now, 68% chance of rain and winds 15 to 25 miles an hour. So if we do get the higher end of that in wind, then that could be a concern. Deshaun Watson has already been ruled out for the Browns. It will be P.J. Walker starting in this game. So Cleveland has a pretty good defense. I don't know what they can do without Deshaun Watson. Interesting stat, and Jim Schwartz is now the defensive coordinator for the Browns. He's had a pretty good track record against Kyle Shanahan. The record's actually like 1-7 with Shanahan losing.
So that's Shanahan's record.
Yeah, well, against Jim Schwartz.
It's 1-7.
So
it's interesting.
It is interesting. If it was Deshaun Watson starting in this game, I might have to reconsider, but I just don't see how with a backup quarterback who I don't think he's been with this team that long.
No, he just got signed in August, I think late August. By the Browns because of that trade where they sent their quarterback Dobbs to Arizona. So they backfilled his open role with P.J. Walker. They're coming off a bye, but the week before that, the other quarterback, Darian Thompson-Robinson, started, and he threw 3 interceptions against Baltimore. So they don't have much confidence in him. They rolled a P.J. Walker, who in the past has looked good. I think, he was playing for Carolina last year. Substituted okay in a couple of games, but the San Francisco defense is just, phenomenal thus far this season. Cleveland, again, they had a bye last week, but lost 28-3 to Baltimore the week prior. I'm going to stick with San Francisco, especially that line stays under 10. Right now I have it at 9.5.
All right, so we're both on the same side of that one. I don't know if I said it, but I am on the
San
Niners.
Fran?
Yes. All right, next game is the Washington Commanders at the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are favored by 2.5. I don't have a lot on this game. Desmond Ridder has fared much better at home in the Dome than he has on the road this season. Commanders have a pretty good run defense. That's obviously what Atlanta wants to do for the most part. I don't have a strong feel for this one, so I have no play on this.
Yeah, I have a really strong play on this one. And this is just watching the two teams. They've both had kind of ups and down seasons so far. Washington 2-3, Atlanta 3-2. So, one difference in a win. Otherwise, they have the same record. Atlanta's 3-0 at home so far this season. And they are playing at home again against Washington. But when you look at the detail of who the opponents have been for Atlanta, they've played against, their wins have come against, in my mind, some weak teams, like your Green Bays of the world. They haven't played really strong defenses, and not that Washington is that great, but I think Washington from a talent level and as good as that defense is on another level from Atlanta. I think their defense is going to give that quarterback fits, and Atlanta's not going to be able to score many points. And if Hal can get hot, this is a game I think that they can go into Atlanta and steal. They're getting 2.5 points. I'll take Washington on the road.
All right. Next game is the Carolina Panthers at the Miami Dolphins. It's going to be hot in Miami, and there is a chance of rain, no real win considerations. So we have the Panthers at 0-5 on the season. Dolphins obviously have a lot of firepower. Panthers not very good against the run, so it's kind of a shame. The Dolphins lost Achane. So he will not be there. There was
running back, right?
Yeah, there was some talk about whether Jeff Wilson would be back, but he is not going to be activated off injured reserve. So it will be Mostert and Salvon Ahmed as the second running back there. This line is on my sheet at minus 13.5.
Yeah, I got 14.
Okay.
I mean, 13.5 in a couple places, but it's flashing at 14 in the majority of the Vegas books.
So I like the Dolphins to win the game. It's a big line. I probably take it up to 14.
Yeah, it's a big line, but not much confidence in Carolina. You got to think that a lot of the money is going to go on Miami, especially since they had the cover last week against New York. I would, if you have to play it, I'd take Miami. I don't know how you can play Carolina and feel comfortable, but this is probably one of those games where all the action is going to be on Miami. And Carolina squeaks out a 10-point lead. I thought that was going to be last week with New York. So I hesitate to jump back over on the other side with Miami. It's a lot of points again. I'd be careful in this game. All
right. Next game is the Minnesota Vikings at the Chicago Bears. There is possibility of rain in this one. 44% chance of rain with winds 15 to 25 miles an hour. This is a division game. There will be no Justin Jefferson for the Vikings. Bears got their first win last week, 40-20 win over the Commanders. Both these teams are 1-4 on the season. I just have to think that the Vikings overall are the better team. I gotta take the Vikings -3.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you're losing Jefferson, right? But they do have some, adequate receivers. No Justin Jefferson types from a talent perspective, but KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison, Hawkinson's there at tight end, and it looks like Brandon Powell's going to be the third man in. Minnesota 3-point favorite against Chicago. I think a lot of people are going to be heavy on Chicago based off their win against Washington last week. Thursday Night Football. They have a lot of rest coming in here, but Minnesota is a desperate team. They both have the same record. I think Minnesota is clearly a better team with a better quarterback. And I think they can overcome the injury and really focus and come together as a team here. I look for Minnesota going a little bit of run throughout the middle of the part of the season here. But I like Minnesota here in the game against Chicago.
All right. same side of that one. Next game is the Colts at the Jaguars. Jaguars are favored by 4.5. This is a division game. And interestingly, this is actually the second meeting between these teams already in week 6. These teams played in week 1. Jacksonville won that game 31-21. At that time, the Colts had absolutely no run game. They had Deion Jackson as their starting running back. They've since acquired Zach Moss, who's been running it pretty good. And
had over 100 yards and I think 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah. And I assume Jonathan Taylor will be on the field this week. And I'm not sure about that. But
Jonathan Taylor got 6 carries last week. I think they're going to continue to ease him into the lineup.
This is the Gardner Minshew revenge game.
I knew you were going to say that. Look what I wrote down right here. Gardner Minshew revenge.
I love a good revenge game.
I knew you were going to say
Not
that.
necessarily one involving Gardner Minshew, but
the mustache man.
So I don't really trust Gardner Minshew as the starting quarterback. I almost feel like he's more capable of coming off the bench. But I do feel like the Jags are a little overrated. So I'm going to take the points and I'm going to take the Colts.
Well, we're on the same side here, and it's surprising probably to you because I've been on Jacksonville almost every week. But I think, they're coming off the 2-week run in London. They played to their advantage because they got to stay in London for the second game, and they clobbered a Buffalo team physically that, just came over late to London and couldn't adjust. They struggled all game. Jacksonville was beating them from the first whistle to the last. So I think that prepped Jacksonville into that win, that second week in London, and then they come back and they should have a lackluster performance. You got the Gardner Minshew revenge game, and I think that stabilizes the quarterback position for at least a week. I agree with you to the point where I wouldn't want Gardner Minshew to be my starting quarterback, for like the long haul, but this is his first week back in, right, after sitting. So I think he'll be effective here. When you get to the third or fourth start, that's when Gardner Minshew starts to get you in trouble. But I think the first start here from him coming back off the bench should be a good one and a victorious one for Indianapolis. I like them to get on the winning side here.
All right. We're on the same side of that.
4.5 points, by the way. 4.5 is what I say.
4.5 is what I have.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Next game is the Saints at the Texans. Saints are favored by -1.5. So I've kind of jumped aboard the CJ Stroud bandwagon. One thing, Tank Dell, who's their rookie wide receiver, is already ruled out this week with a concussion. So whereas he's used to having Tank Dell and Nico Collins out there with Robert Woods as well, he's going to be down to the one receiver. That kind of worries me a little bit. If the Saints put Lattimore on Nico, then that really leaves him with Robert Woods. They haven't really been running the ball much. So while I like the Texans, I lean Texans, I'm not saying that I'm playing the Texans.
I am. I'm going to play the Texans in this one. Saints coming off the win last week.
Big win against Patriots.
This is their second away game in a row, and they're a favorite. And I like that trend to play against the team that won the prior week. It's tough to win 2 road games in a row. I'm going to take Houston and CJ Stroud. I think they squeak out the win here. They're a live home dog. Take Houston with the 1.5 to 2 points.
All right, so we're agreement on that one too. All right, next game is the Seattle Seahawks at the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals are favored by -2.5. So, to me, this game comes down to Burrow. Like, is he healthy or is he not? He obviously had a good game last week against the Cardinals, but I'm not fully convinced that his calf is fully healed. Cardinals don't have much of a defense. They don't get a lot of pressure, so I don't think they made it difficult on him. DK Metcalf had a little bit of bulletin board material saying that he thought cornerback Devin Witherspoon would get the best of Jamar Chase. So we'll see if that gets the Bengals and Jamar Chase fired up for this one. I'm just not convinced that Burrow's good. So I lean Bengals, but I'm not confident enough to make it a pick.
You're not. Can you clarify that? Like Joe Burrow's good, like health-wise, or Joe Burrow's a good quarterback?
Good with his calf, health-wise.
Okay. Well, it looks like he's showing signs of getting back on the horse, that he's improving.
Well, because he had a good game against the Cardinals.
Yeah, well, the Cardinals, if you haven't noticed, contrary to popular belief, have been giving some teams some fits. They beat the Cowboys. Their defense is
not that good. They don't pressure the quarterback.
All right, well, I'm not saying they're world beaters, but I mean, it's not like, hey, it's an NFL defense, and he looked good against them, went in there and won.
Did he?
I like Cincinnati this week against Seattle. I think one of these games you got to look at, this is a good example of things evening out in the NFL, right? You have Seattle going on the road. They're a 3-1 team. Cincinnati's 2-3. And I think people think, Seattle might be a legitimate record at 3-1, but if they win this game, they go to 4-1, one game behind San Francisco, and that drops Cincinnati down to 2-4. I think this is a Cincinnati win. They're only giving up the 3 points. I'd feel confident with giving up that amount.
Okay. All right. Next game is the Patriots at the Raiders. Raiders are favored by -2.5. So this is a game that I really like. Normally, this would be like a really great pick for me. We got Bill Belichick going up against his former offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels. You got Jimmy G at quarterback, former Patriot. Jacoby Myers, wide receiver, former Patriot. Normally, I would love this. You have Devontae Adams, not 100%, probably will play, but not going to be 100% effective. The Patriots have not looked good the last couple weeks. Mac Jones is a bit of a disaster. The Patriots also have a lot of injuries. They have their guard, 2 offensive linemen, Matthew Judon, and their top rookie cornerback, Christian Gonzalez, all out for this game. Raiders defense is not good, so I think maybe Mac Jones could do something more than he's done in the last 2 weeks against them. The injuries do worry me, but normally in this situation, I would think Belichick is going to get the best of this situation, and I would feel confident in the Patriots. I feel not confident at all, but I am going to take the Patriots.
I knew where you were going. I had to go Patriots there. You hate Josh McDaniel.
I don't hate Josh McDaniel.
You hate Josh McDaniel.
I have no opinion on Josh McDaniel.
You always trash the guy.
I don't remember doing this.
You trash him every time we talk about the Raiders for the last 2 years.
Recently, okay, fine.
There's no doubt in my mind you're going Patriots. I mean, I don't love the game, but I would take the Patriots. I just think they've been embarrassed so much last week.
I took the Patriots last week, and you saw what happened. So I have very little confidence, but
I have confidence that Belichick can get his team together to rally against a poor team. I think the Raiders have underwhelmed, and that Jimmy Garoppolo does not look very good as a starting quarterback here with the Raiders. So I think he's going to struggle against the defense. They can at least scheme him up. And if they can keep the game close, I think Mac Jones can pull out a win in Las Vegas.
All right. Next game is the Lions at the Bucs. Lions are favored by -3. When I looked at the weather, I didn't see any concerns here. I think the biggest thing here is Jared Goff on the road is never as good as Jared Goff is at home in the Dome. So that would be one consideration there. But overall, the Lions do have a pretty good defense. Bucs are very one-dimensional. They have no run game to speak of. It sounds like Mike Evans will be back this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown should be back for the Lions, although the tight end Laporta is questionable at this point. I don't have a lot of justification for it other than I like the Lions. I'm going to take the Lions -3.
Laporta's a big miss because he's been giving the Lions that valuable threat over the middle. But I think the key here is St. Brown. He's obviously shown over the last 2 years that he is the man at wide receiver. Last week, he wasn't even on the field. I think he'll be welcomed back tremendously by Jared Goff here. You got to look at this from another situation, even though I think Detroit is 3-1, 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're 4-1.
And the Bucs are
3-1 because they just had the bye. So the Bucs win here. They're 4-1. They're not a 4-1 team. That team is smoke and mirrors.
This year's Bucs better than Tom Brady's Bucs last year.
Well, that sure as hell isn't happening. So I'll take Detroit here. They should be probably giving up a lot more points than what they are.
We're on the same side of a lot of these. We're either going to be right or wrong. All right, next game is the Arizona Cardinals at the Los Angeles Rams. Rams are 7-point favorites. This is a division game. Cardinals have only won this matchup once in the last 4 games, which includes a playoff game. The one win the Rams did not have Matt Stafford at quarterback. Rams did get Cooper Kupp back last week. Him and Stafford kind of picked up where they left off. Like I mentioned earlier, the Cardinals defense is not very good. They don't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I think Stafford can get it done like Burrow did last week. So I'm going to actually take the Rams here, which is like a foreign concept for me.
Well, I do not like Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals. I am going to also take the LA Rams here at home. I think they destroy Arizona. There is one thing to note here, though. I don't know if you saw this, but Sean McVay might be having a baby on Sunday. And if that's the case, if his wife gives birth, he's going to miss the game. So I don't know how much that, is going to impact the Rams. You would think quite tremendously. I believe McVay calls the plays, right? So, Jordan or Kupp and Stafford have been playing together for a little bit and they're on the same page and probably wouldn't miss a beat, but it's a little concerning there just because they don't have the captain at the head of the ship. So look for that. If McVay does not play or does not coach this game because his wife gives birth, you might want to consider taking Arizona. But other than that, I think the Rams blow them out.
Okay. All right, next game is the Eagles at the Jets. Eagles are -7-point favorites. Is that what you have?
6.5.
Okay. So I'll let you take this one because I'm really not sure what to do with this game.
Well, I'm going to surprise you here. And it didn't go well for me earlier in the season when I did this, but I'm going to take the Jets here.
All right. If you're on the Jets, I'm on the Eagles.
All right. Well, I'm going to take the Jets, and there's a couple of reasons why. They have some key injuries on defense. Starting cornerback, their best cornerback, Slay, is going to miss the game. And the tremendously stout defensive tackle from Georgia, the rookie,
Jalen
Carter is going to miss this game.
Is he definitely out?
He's out. He's been ruled out for the game. And here's the deal. I think that one of the biggest question marks for the Eagles this season, because their loss of Javon Hargrave to the Niners, was the defensive tackle position for many reasons. But why it hasn't been an issue is because Jalen Carter has stepped up and been the man. This guy is a man-child. He's a rookie, but he very much looks like Warren Sapp, and maybe even better than Warren Sapp. He might project, in a couple of years here. But the fact that they're going to miss him, or he won't be in this game, they are going to miss him tremendously because he's been excellent at stopping the run. And that's something the Jets need to do to be competitive in this game, because they don't have much of a passing game. So with that said, I don't believe the Eagles will lose the game, but it's going to be a little closer than people think. I look for the Jets to play it inside the number. I would take the Jets at home against the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right. I just don't trust Zach Wilson enough to think that he can. I actually played him last week in FanDuel, and he didn't throw like a single touchdown against the Denver Broncos defense. It would have been horrible. So
this is another one where, you got to watch out. The Eagles won and covered against the Rams last week on the road, and they go back on the road and they're favorite by a hunky chunk of points at 6.5, probably be a touchdown by game time. So that's one of the real reasons it's tough to win 2 games.
All right, but anytime you go against your team, they win and they cover. So
that's true.
I'm not going to make the same mistake I made a couple weeks ago. All right, so we're on different sides of that one. Would you like to take?
No, I'm not putting money against the Eagles.
All right.
Even if it's $20.
All right. So next game, and now we're into the Sunday night game. We have the Giants yet again in prime time at the Bills. Bills on my sheet are 14.5-point favorites. I think I actually saw that at like 15.5.
I have it flashing at 15 in some places in Vegas.
So this is another game where we have the angle of we have Brian Daboll, head coach of the Giants, is now going against his former team where he was the offensive coordinator for a couple of years. We can perhaps say that he was responsible for part of Josh Allen's success. He obviously knows Josh Allen very well, knows his strengths, knows his weaknesses, and could exploit them if he had the horses to do it. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he does. In addition to the fact that the Giants have pretty much stunk from day one, Daniel Jones has already been ruled out. It will be Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. Their offensive line, which was already pretty bad, is going to be without their left tackle, their center. And they have one other, their guard is questionable. We still have Saquon Barkley as questionable. Darren Waller is questionable. It's a big line. I would probably take it up to 14, but I wouldn't go above that. I would like to think that D-Ball could, do something here, but I just don't see it with all these injuries and the way they've played all season.
Well, the fear here is that Tyrod Taylor sparks that Giants offense, right? With Daniel Jones sitting. Is that concerning at all to you?
No. Tyrod Taylor, really?
No Saquon still, right?
And the offensive line is terrible. He's questionable, but I don't know if he's going to play or not.
I mean,
probably not.
Play to even
I
have
think,
a shot.
Some of these guys, what's his motivation at this point? To play this game? You might as well just milk the injury, right?
I think so, especially given the contract negotiations didn't really go his way in the beginning of the season. So why should he rush to get hurt and miss out on having to sign a contract at the end of the season? So
yeah, I just feel like
he's not going to rush.
Even guys like CMC, how many games did CMC miss when he was with the Panthers? A lot.
How much of
that?
Now
he's in San Fran.
He's playing every game.
Yeah.
Well, how much of that could have affect the psyche of the rest of the team, where they've underperformed so far this season? They're 1-4. They've looked horrible. And if the team just doesn't buy in because their number one stud, the running back Saquon, doesn't want to come back and play, then, you can see this going downhill fast. I mean, it's 15 points, but you're at home at night, Sunday Night Football, Bills Mafia going ballistic. I don't know how you can go anywhere, but circle the wagons with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. So, what I'm going to do, I've already done it. I'm going to do an alt line on all these big lines. So I put the Bills -6.5, Dolphins -6.5, and San Fran -6.5 in a parlay. It's plus 200-ish.
I like that play.
So
seems strong, especially they're under a touchdown.
All right. So last game on the list is the Monday night game. This is a similar situation. So we have Keelan Moore, former offensive coordinator for Dallas, going up against his former team. He knows Dak, knows his strengths, knows his weaknesses. I think Dak has weaknesses that can be exploited. We haven't really talked about this because Dallas has won a lot of their games on defense. They haven't had to do much on offense. But since Keelan Moore left, Mike McCarthy is taking over the play calling. I feel like Mike McCarthy is similar to the Pittsburgh coach Tomlin, who I don't like because he just kind of does his thing and doesn't adjust. So I like the Chargers here because I think they can exploit Dak and get the win. They are -2.5 point dogs at home. The only thing I would watch where the money's going, because I would be worried in these primetime games. If it's lopsided, you always got to go the other way. Chargers are coming off the bye. Herbert does have an injury to his non-throwing hand, and it sounds like Austin Eckler will be back this week.
Yeah, I just see, as much as I don't like Dallas, I just, the Chargers have struggled this season and haven't really separated themselves in many of the games with the other teams. So I'm going to keep it short here, but I think Dallas was embarrassed. They're going to go back in prime time, and I think they'll be ready. They have shown the ability to respond to poor outings the next week, and giving up less than 3 points. I think I would take the Cowboys here.
All right, you want to make it a bet?
Sure. 2.5.
2.5. All right, that's going to do it for us for week 6. Remember to like us, subscribe, feel free to comment, and peace out.
It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings. Football, Wildcats.